Welcome to the Chromaniacs, your look inside San Diego FC and MLS. It's our second episode of the week, Season 2, Episode 18. Welcome back to it, recording on our regular Thursday night schedule. I'm Craig Elston, joined by my Chromaniacs, Tony Sanchez and Alex Pena. Tony, what's happening, brother?
Well, it's like we didn't go anywhere. The wheels are just kind of been turning, but they're not moving forward or backwards. San Diego FC looking like they picked up right where they left off. All those highlights in the intro are from this season. It's not from years past, even though it feels like that. But we'll talk about what happened against Colorado. Alex, ¿cómo estás?
Doing well, and yeah, it does feel like we're back to square one, and it just feels like we didn't learn as much during the break as we thought we would, and reinforcements are needed. They're needed quickly, so hopefully we see them in a couple games or so. Hopefully this Saturday, right, Craig?
Sooner the better, because this team's no good. That's the simple version of what you're about to hear on Chromaniacs Season 2, Episode 18. A maybe slightly shorter show. And frankly, I thought that a day distance from last night's result would give me a little bit more pause and nuance and substance for this evening's discussion. But maybe not. We're going to dig all the way into that. We'll hear what Mikey Varas had to say after the match was done, and then we'll look ahead to Saturday and FC Dallas at Snapdragon Stadium. Very straightforward show. We're really glad to have you along for the ride. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube and you want to hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe to know when we go live Saturday night after the result is in. Please do. You'll never miss a live show if you hit subscribe. Share it to your buddies. Put it in your Discord feed. Do whatever you got to do. If you happen to be listening on podcast, your platform of choice, you can offer us a 5-star rating. That'd be great. Kind little written review. Share it with a buddy. Those are the ways Chromaniacs can grow. If I were to offer a sketchpad title for today's show, it might be SSDD. Same season, different day. Just same as different day. Basically, is what I saw Wednesday night in the game. You're in Colorado, okay. You know, you're at elevation. As I heard Mikey say over and over, you're facing a good Colorado Rapids team. They were behind you. You were 13th in the standings. You were 12th. Coming in, yes, admittedly by a point, nonetheless. I thought, let me be charitable at the start and as a point of opening discussion, I thought this game looked exactly like two teams that hadn't played in 2 months, kicking a ball around a yard with very little cohesion. And that was in general on both sides. Colorado was the better side throughout the course of the night, in my opinion. You guys can tell me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong. But to me, both teams looked pretty blah for almost the entire game.
Yeah, that's right. You take 2 months off, and it kind of looked like that. Like we're starting preseason again. Even though I'm guessing both teams had a little bit of a preseason, some friendlies mixed in this break, but nothing can get you ready for real game time minutes and speed and all that. So it just looked like two teams that did take a break, and it just looked sloppy, and really it looked boring. Like most of the match was mostly boring and not exciting, and you could tell by the fans at Colorado kind of, looking at their phones, looking half asleep at most of it. And then the Apple announcers and the play-by-play, they just wanted something to talk about, and they just couldn't find anything positive to say about this match. But yeah, it just no cohesion, nothing really stood out from either side. Really, it just it all came down to which team was focused and which wasn't, and the last minute goal, and that was the difference. And that's really too bad for San Diego FC. It just puts them back into that. Um, we allow goals in the very last minutes of the games when it just, you shouldn't be doing that anymore.
Yeah, I'll concede. Maybe we've all been a little spoiled by literally the best soccer for the past month and a half, 2 months with the
No
World Cup.
question. No question. Changes your
sure.
palate.
Absolutely. And if this was a marketing selling point for MLS this last weekend, some of the goals across MLS, it's just not good soccer happening across the United States right now. But it is what it is, and you don't throw a fit, and San Diego still is attached to this name of the soccer team. Even if you go down and play a bad game, both teams had a bad game. It's a bad, boring game. Don't lose the game. Like that should be the goal. And for the most part, they were doing a good job. Both teams want possession. There's only one ball, so it was always going to be a recipe for a slow, methodical goal. A couple of annulled goals, a couple of offsides here and there, and that's really about it. But even then, if you're trying to climb back into the conversation of playoffs, and maybe this team is a little healthier now, they're turning the corner. What they showed isn't really telling of a team that's ready to do that. They're not. They don't seem like they're ready to go. Now, there's a game here at home, and that might change the circumstances, and maybe they are just a bad team in altitude. Do not put them anywhere near a mountain, near any sort of different sort of air, oxygen levels, and you'll be perfectly fine. We'll see what happens on Saturday, but it was a tough watch across the board for this game. But for San Diego FC, once again, there's no one that excites. I don't know, Craig, is there anybody who excites you on this team that you're like, this is game changer? Boom, and that's it.
Well, that's it, and you're setting me up well, because as you know, in our group text, I was excited for this match all the way until the lineup came out, and then I see the lineup an hour before the game, and I'm like, wow, this is so just copy pasta what we've seen the entire first half, except Bombino's out because of a red. So now you've got, Sargent and Verhoeven on the wings as your wing backs. That didn't excite me at all. Volakari being in there next to Tverskov and Godoy didn't excite me at all. Mighton being on left wing means I know Dreyer's not going to get any chances to score, because Mighton's there for one thing. And by the way, I think he did this well. He's there to be the tip of the spear for the high press. He's there to try and capture the ball, win it back, set the tone for the press, run really hard, run at the point of attack. And he did that. He did that on Wednesday night. I will give him credit for that. But Alex Mighton isn't going to make offense for you at this level. It's just not very likely. And then you looked at the bench, and not only is Pirani not starting, Pirani is not an option. So, in the limited time we've had back with this club, we're saying, hey, they added Pirani, and he's going to be a playmaking midfielder. Well, he's nowhere to be seen. So for this match, at least, they added nobody. They added Murphy, who they threw in, for a handful of minutes at the end of the match, and he had one bad back pass, and otherwise was kind of not really part of anything that took place. So it really was a representation of SDFC first half, and then they played like SDFC first half. Colorado clearly had the better press. The SDFC backs struggled from minute 1 to minute 90 with maintaining possession and building out of the back. But SDFC kept trying to build out of the back. So there were a number of occasions where Colorado, if they were better, if they were good at finishing, if they had the talent and the teamwork to finish well, I think you would have seen multiple Rapids goals earlier in the game. Now we're seeing the best, as we're playing highlights right now, the best chances for SDFC. They all came in the second half. This is number one on the list. This or Ingvartsen. I think probably this one. And Volakari gets stopped. It's when you have so few opportunities, if you don't cash in on the two that you get, and then Vartson's little run toward the 90th minute off right angle near the 6, that was another chance that was saved. So they played better in the second half, but the first half I thought was kind of abominable. Like it was ugly. It was uninspired. It was not disconnected. Colorado really left a lot of meat on the bone in that half. And, they wind up getting the stoppage time killer, which sucks, but them getting 3 points out of this fixture, the way it went, seems like the fairest result.
Yeah, that's right. And it's funny how the Tony started the highlights in the second half, because there's really nothing to talk about in the first half. It was all zeros, like all goose eggs, 0 shots on target, 0 touches in the opposition's box. It was all zeros, just nothing happening on that side of the field. And I mean, they tried some long passes out to Mighton. That didn't work. Just didn't have the legs. There were some of them were really, they sailed away in altitude, and I understand that they just didn't dial those passes right into Mighton. But also the side he's playing on with Kieran Sargent, maybe it's different if Luca Bombino's playing in his spot and he's not suspended. But Sargent would kind of fumble some of those passes he was receiving from Monodua, from the goalkeeper on that side, to start off. But yeah, it was just a lot of just disjointed stuff that you don't typically see from San Diego FC when they have their starters in, like Luca Bombino, and you need someone else on that left wing. Like Mine's good for speed, like he's good to stretch out the field, but and dribbling once in a while, but he's not going to be that attacking option up front. Like he's probably better off like coming in later in a match. But yeah, it was not inspiring to just see the lineup out there. And but yeah, it just all started in the second half. So that just meant that when you had the opportunities like Valakari had, like he had a couple, you got to score those, because they weren't playing their style. They weren't playing their ball. They were playing more defensive. That I understood, like probably late in the match, like, okay, they're going to play for a draw. They're going to play for this point defensively, which is something they don't do. And it just it didn't happen that way. They lost it late. But I saw the whatever tactics they were thinking of, because they did put Alvarado in, and they did put some guys in that weren't I thought that were more defensive contributors than on the attack. But I don't know if you saw it that way, Tony.
Well, I mean, they didn't do a lot of things that they normally do. And starting off with, they lost the possession battle. And this is a match where, obviously the other team, Colorado, does also like possession, but they did stuff with it. In some of their buildups, they had the overall success rate. This from a cool little app footy that I was led it onto in the World Cup. Some cool stuff. I had the privilege of being able to access some of this info when I start peppering it in, but you can just see that the fast break success means, yeah, they're able to transition outside of those just build up moments. Clearly, you're not going to build up against this team, but you didn't do anything with it, like you said, Alex. And at the end of it, does San Diego FC even have the capacity to be a fast break team? Can they be dynamic in the way that they play? And over again, we've been told no. I haven't seen a dynamic San Diego FC that's been able to change in game. First half, you know what? They tried this. Second half, they're going to try that, but with a slight twist. Maybe they'll go left instead of right this time. No, it's always the same. And that's where I think teams just figured this system out. And there's no new fresh air coming in. Maybe with Gabi is going to be one of them. Murphy came in, didn't really do much, got himself booked. It's
Well, that's how I knew he was Azul and Chrome.
Yeah.
I mean, McVay already set the tone. He's like, set the
Yeah.
tone. Second half, boom, yellow. I got a yellow. You got to get a yellow if you're on the back end, or else you're not really a Zuli Chrome. So, yeah, welcome to the club, Ian Murphy. That's fine. They are missing the guys that are out. With no Pellegrino, there's no danger on left wing. Lewis Morgan is false. But you've queued up what is now the controversy, or the invented controversy of this match day, which is a VAR review of a possible penalty on a corner kick with Jeppe Tverskov getting taken down in the box. And, just as a matter of procedure, when the VAR official tells the on-field official to come over, they don't do that to tell him that they've got nothing. You know what I'm saying? They only do that if they feel there's a convincing case to be presented to offer a penalty. Watching this live, and Tony, you said it earlier, maybe our palates need to be cleaned up after watching all of 104 World Cup fixtures. I didn't see this necessarily as a penalty kick worthy action within the game. You watch the replay, you hear what Mikey has to say, and we'll hear it again later. He at least makes the case that in MLS, based on their guidelines that they've shared with clubs this year, that this could have been a penalty, but the on-field referee had no intention of calling this a penalty because he was shown every single slow-mo, and he walked away from that and said no foul.
Tony, penalty or no penalty?
No penalty. To me, that's no. I've seen that be given. I think it was mentioned in the broadcast, but if you give it, I don't think anybody's going to feel like it was a just penalty if it was done on the other end. If that foul gets called in your box, I think you're calling foul and just like, what are we doing? Are we playing, just charades? No, it's a contact sport and it's a contact moment. Nothing's going to get called in a corner situation like that. It just never is. And if it is, well, it has to be a little bit more than what we saw. And I would hate for that penalty to have been called on the other end, I feel. And so I think that's the just ethos that I'm feeling about that. But could it have been? Sure. If you really look into it. I like, we'll get to what Mikey said. It's actually one of the few times I've smiled from ear to ear for that one.
Yeah, and I think it's just away from the play, and the ball just sails like it's over him. It's not anything impactful. It's kind of reaching there for a penalty. I've seen people get taken down in those spots. Yeah, people get tangled up. People get taken down. And sometimes it's just like the ball sails way over their heads, and are you really going to call that when the ball's way 20 yards behind you? I don't know. It would if the shoe's on the other foot, I would have hated it.
So we all agree.
Yeah.
That was just the pleas of a desperate man by Mikey Varas at the end of the game, because his team offered very little in the way of attacks. We played the two highlights. Valakari had a chance. If you want to say he needed to do more with that, okay. But he was coming in, angled away from the goal, kind of with the outside of his foot as his only option. Gio Reyna, he's not, so he didn't hit the perfect shot to curve it inside the right post there. And it was saved. Ingvartsen had one chance on the right angle, and it was saved just decently. It wasn't like oh my God save. It was just, good positional defense to block it. And honestly, other than that, SDFC didn't do diddly poo over the course of this match. They were essentially silent. At one point in the first half, I almost texted you guys they watched the World Cup final and thought Argentina was the team to emulate. Let's get 0 shots on goal and as many yellow cards as we can. That's how it looked for a while in this game. And then you get to the very end. And to be honest, this is just a punch in the dick. I mean, this is a club that at least is hanging on for 0-0, hanging on for dear life at the end of a game. Here's the stupid yellow on Morgan. That was hilarious. And it seems like inconsequential. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know,
yeah,
bang.
It felt like it was coming eventually because they kept scoring, but they were getting called offsides, and I think eventually the dam was going to break and one was going to get through. But it was interesting to see the substitutions made at certain times when if you were going to play this style and play back and play for a point, Mighton should have probably stayed on. I joked with you guys that, hey, aren't you excited to see Zamblé in stoppage time? And it happened. It was so predictable that he was going to get some minutes in a tie ball game, and he did. And it might have been better to just keep Mighton out there, and then it was on Ian Murphy's side, and
I was just going to say that's Murphy allowing the cross there.
Yeah. Murphy was right there. He wasn't that close to the ball, and he didn't press, and it fell apart at the very end. Just lack of focus. It's something that they should have worked on like the whole summer. It's just making sure you don't lose focus at the very end of the game.
And the shot is such a sickly shot. Like it's
a
not,
four-hopper.
It was
It's such
hospital
a slow
ball
roller that
right there. Like Yeppe should have kicked that one out, and he just I don't know what he was doing. He was just watching.
Yeppe allows it to get in. Murphy allows it to begin, and Yeppe allows it to get in.
Yeah.
And Yeppe continues what's really been an underwhelming second season for San Diego. He hasn't been the sure-handed, San Diego's Rodri. He hasn't been that metronome this year. He's been defensively victimized more than once. Sometimes they asked him to play back as a fifth defensive back when everything's been going poorly. That hasn't helped. They've conceded plenty of goals this year. I think it's been generally kind of a lousy season for a good-hearted captain of San Diego FC. And Tony, it's interesting. I was reading our guest Matthew Doyle's release for his patrons today, going team by team through the West and talking about what he thinks they need to add in the transfer window. And I think he might have mentioned Etruria in the story. I'm not sure, but what he was talking about was somebody to take minutes from Tverskov or Godoy, saying that this team could really use a solid 8 and it would make a big difference.
Oh, so you're not on board with having David Vasquez leave and just have more players be offloaded instead of coming in? I mean, that by the way, isn't going to happen at least until the winter. Thankfully for San Diego FC, I guess some immigration paperwork issue didn't work out there. But yeah, I mean, Yeppe needs a break. Like you're once again asking him to come back into that role when it seems like, I mean, you told us, head coach Mikey Vadas and Tyler Heaps, that everybody's pretty much 100%, as close to 100% as possibly can. And this didn't look like it. Like it didn't look like a team that was 100%, because a team that's 100% competes the 100% of the time. And they just let their arms down and they just let this play happen. Went into one play of miscommunication, lack of focus, lack of intensity. Colorado in that play wanted it more than you did. You definitely did. And that's why that ball just slow rolls into the net. And it's just painful to watch. And I mean, I don't know if this is one of these times where is this time for a wake-up call? Like it's been time for a wake-up call for a couple of these things, but I don't see a turning point unless Gabi is the key to this team. That way, again, you get some help by Valacari going into the center mid position, taking some minutes from Godoy, maybe throw Soma in there when you need Yepe to take a break. I mean, but that still is you're looking across the way. Lewandowski's in the league. You have Lewandowski who scored an aura goal. He just put pressure on the goalkeeper and did one of the and the ball just rolled in because he spooked him with his presence. It's incredible. Griezmann is coming in. Casemiro for Inter Miami. I mean, and then you're just kind of sitting here like, okay, well, we got Gabi, who used to be in DC United, one of the worst offensive teams, and we'll see if that's the key. But I don't know. It's just not looking good, and I think it's proved me wrong territory for me. Unless I see something different, this is what I am expecting every single game from you. I'm not expecting a win. Prove me wrong.
And yeah, they have a lot of work to do still, and it's just I thought that the World Cup break could fix some of those things, and it's clear that they still need to figure this out. And look, defensively, they actually looked a little bit better. Like, it kind of looked like they worked on set pieces a little bit. It's something I probably never noticed, but Marcus and Bartson was involved a lot. He was winning those battles in the air. Monodua was all over the place on the ground, just winning those battles on the ground. So it looks like those improvements were made, and it looked a little bit better. But yeah, just kind of keeping your eye off the ball or just watching the ball too much is still a problem for this team, and they got to fix that. That it keeps happening. 10 points and now. 10 points.
10 points
after the 75th minute. They've lost.
That's the difference in the whole season. That's them making the playoffs even as a mediocre team, or missing the playoffs as a mediocre to below mediocre team. And that's where they are right now. Maybe I'm being a harsh critic, Alex, but I would say that the reason that the defense, quote unquote, looked better is that Colorado sucked at finishing on Wednesday. They threw themselves off sides, not paying attention to where the line was twice, and denied themselves goals. They were poor finishers in other situations where they could have put a ball on net and pressured Dos Santos. And I think a sharper finishing team would have had 2 or 3 on San Diego well within regulation and before stoppage time, because the defenders keep giving up the ball. They keep turning the ball over. They keep creating sudden changes in the final third or the final half. They do it over and over again. And it's the same gosh darn script I saw throughout a skid that enveloped all of May and into June. Like, just terrible turnovers. Every team knowing all we have to do is turn on the press, put it in here, create the high pressure. They're going to turn it over within 4 passes. Then we get our chance. We keep doing it. We keep hitting the cycle button. We're going to get a goal out of one of those things. And when Sue was on the field, it was like, okay, we'll get a goal immediately and then we'll get another one. But when you have McVay and Dua, they're going to turn aside some of the opportunities. But this team is on a razor's edge, boys. Like, Bombino's out of there, Pellegrino's out of there, and there just felt like there was no sparking attack. There was nothing that was feeling transitional. There was nothing really that felt like it was dangerous out there. It really felt like stumbling around in the dark. Like, okay, Marcus and Anders, we're going to get you the ball 3 times. Try and do something. And that's just really a tough remit, even if you're, World Cup level players. It's a really tough remit to say you're going to get 3 or 4 chances, make a goal. 3 or 4 chances by yourself on long balls, like on Bombosa tries, like, make a goal. That's what I saw from San Diego FC. I swear, this is one of the most, year and a half ish. This is one of the most disappointing games that I've seen from the side. It was one that just made me go, why am I going to watch the rest of this season? Why am I going to watch 9 games in a month of this if it's going to look like this? I'm going to be on my phone a lot during these games. Like I don't want that.
It doesn't put last year into perspective, though. Maybe perhaps too how crazy that season one was. Did you really just take the league by storm and surprise everybody, and they just weren't ready for your play style? You stuck to your play style and you got it. If you look at it just tactically, last year when you controlled the possession, teams came at you. So that opened pockets of spaces, regardless of who was on the field. Again, we can talk about lineups or individuals. Whoever was on the field, the opposing teams came at you. They attacked you because you were the new kids in town. They're trying to go ahead and be and strong arm you by showing you, I'm going to take the ball away from you. No, San Diego just passed it around and played some really good football. They struggled with the teams that didn't want the ball, that said, I'm just going to let you kind of do what you do, and you're not going to be able to score around the box anyways because you're not going to shoot. And that ended up being a strategy against that version of San Diego FC. Continue that into this season. Teams are still like, all right, guys, you can have the ball. I don't need the ball. I don't need the ball for 89 minutes. You're not going to score. If I find my way into a goal, then great. I can just pile on from there. But they're not even necessarily respecting San Diego FC's play style anymore. They're just waiting for the ball. They're just waiting for the mistake, find the mistake, score. Oh, but it's because of the style. Okay, well, the style is leading into these goals. You're not creating anything on the other end, so that's the formula to victory. Easy peasy. Let's go to on after San Diego. Can't wait to play San Diego next. Easy 3 points.
And another thing about last year was like how the crazy run they went on away.
On the road. Thank you for bringing this up. Yes.
On the road, 9-1-1 in their last 11 away matches. Ridiculous record. So and that helped them, get those 36 points in those last 19 matches. And maybe it's something that we won't see again. And guess what? They're still only have one win on the road this year. So the dynamic on the road has changed. People have adjusted. It's just a different beast right now. So maybe now that they play Saturday, maybe at home that they have a better chance against FC Dallas. So, but we'll see.
We'll talk about FC Dallas momentarily. Right now, let's hear what Mikey Varas had to say outside Denver, suburban Denver metro area, as his team agonizingly dropped a point at the very end, but never had 3 points in their hand. Never had a look at 3 points in this game. They were playing for penalties if penalties were there, but there were no penalties. So they were playing for 0-0. Here's Mikey Varas post-match.
Hello, Mikey. Thank you for your time. What can you tell me about tonight's performance and the first match in this restart of the season?
Yeah, I think we played against a very good team. We knew it was going to be difficult. We're playing altitude. And I think our boys put together a really mature and structured game. Really smart when we could press really high, creating some situations that were advantageous for us, but also knowing that we were going to get broken at times, and then having a nice mature mid-block where we can control the space and maybe create some counterattacking situations, which maybe we would have wanted to be a little bit more aggressive there. But overall, I think it was really good. And then I think we did well dealing with their high press. The first half, we had difficulty turning those breakthroughs into clear chances. Second half, we start to create some very clear chances. And then ultimately, the game comes down to the end of the game. We have to be more organized on a set piece when there's a minute or 30 seconds left, especially when there's subs coming in. So we have to do better on that. And I just don't understand what the referee is thinking in the non-penalty call. Beginning of the season, they clearly told us if somebody's holding or tackling somebody in the box and not making eye contact with the ball and just playing the player, then they would call these penalty kicks. And we take them for their word that they're going to do that. We let the referee know that Colorado fouls pretty much on all set pieces. They're meant to be very aggressive. It's their style of play, and that we ask he got defensive and told us that he did his own research. Then, of course, we have the play where everybody can see that Yepe is tackled to the ground and Yepe is the target on this play. The VAR calls him to the monitor. And at the end of the day, I can give a lot of sympathy for referees because it's hard to make calls at the speed of the action that the team plays in. But when you get to go to the monitor and you have your VAR team telling you it's a penalty kick and you still find a way to convince yourself that it's not, then I think it's just unacceptable. But it is what it is, and we have to eat it because it's talking about it much more isn't going to help us.
All right. The pleas of a desperate man. His team didn't create very many options. He polished that up the best he could. And I think, similarly to how you could say that Messi should have gotten a red for raking his boot down somebody's calf, or that Balogun deserved his red for raking his studs down the calf into the ankle of the Bosnia-Herzegovina player. There's fouls and there's fouls and there's VAR fouls. This one felt like Tony, I just think you said it right. If it happened on the other side to give Colorado a chance to win the game 1-0, I think we're screaming bloody murder on today's show.
Yeah.
Do you
go for it?
Tony, real quick. Do you guys feel that this is just Mikey just defending Yepe, because Yepe was kind of all over the ref for this call too, and it's just, and I don't think I saw anything on the sidelines or any video of Mikey going over to like another official trying to tell him the same thing. But is it just more theatrics of like just trying to defend your player?
I wouldn't necessarily say defend him, because if your player goes down and they believe that there's contact enough, then yeah, because you have to also think that there's a yellow card waiting for Yepe, taking that risk going down in the box. And if you're faking a foul, that's deserved for you. But I think if anything, he was more if any defending happened in that speech was for his substitutes that came in, just kind of, they know they should have done better coming into it, especially in a set piece situation with 30 seconds left in the game. That they should have done better for sure. But I think he truly believes that should have been a penalty, and that's just kind of the progression going back from last year. There was a couple of no calls against San Diego State, and a couple of penalties that were found on VAR, and so it's been interesting seeing Mikey's progression from hey, last year was like we tell me what the rule book is, I guess. Now in the off season, they told him what the rule book is, and now he's using that as a weapon as far as like, well, your rule book says. But had this been 0-0, I don't think he comes out with that sentiment, as strong of a sentiment on that penalty call or no call. Especially if you win. I think that's not even going to be unprompted a question, because that was my follow-up question. He just took it right out of him. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, sure, yes, Mike, you keep going. That was my next. How did you interpret it? Okay, you thought it was a penalty for sure, but
and he's supposed to look. He's supposed
100%.
to think that it's a penalty. But you mentioned substitutions, and I wanted to bring up substitutions as well. And you brought up David Vasquez. In fact, I think you kind of just like Loki's threw in some news there, which is that due to immigration paperwork, any potential transfer of David Vasquez to Club America will take place at the end of the season and not in season. Okay, well, that's really important information. That should be good news, I think, for San Diego FC, because David Vasquez has been an offensive player for this club. Not every time, but he is a player on this side that can create offense. I was looking for him to enter this game, especially when you've got two veterans in Tverskov and Godoy in the midfield playing at a mile high, trying to finish out games. Ends of games is where tired veteran legs can concede space. And guess what? Tverskov concedes the space that is there for the Brazilian to score for Colorado to get the game-winning goal. He is the guy who's throwing himself down to his knees at the end of that play. I was thinking to myself, where's Vasquez? And then Alex, as you know, on our Padres Hot Tub Discord, we were chatting through this stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of talk this morning in terms of like, well, if Vasquez is about to go to Club America, maybe the two sides had an agreement that he wouldn't play. Maybe it's Mikey doing the same thing he did last year with Olowski, saying like, if you're not on the team, if you're not with us, you're against us. Even if you're under our rights, I'm not going to play you. You know, thinking about the Chicago Fire game where he was like, Olowski, who? You know, and then he was gone to Union, you know, a couple of minutes later. So all of those were like crappy reasons for Vasquez not to play, but understandable. If he's going to be here, now I'm starting to ask, was that simply because we're going to put our eggs into Saturday and we're going to let the young players play Saturday? Because I wanted to see Vasquez and I wanted to see Soma in this game, and neither of those guys made any impact.
Yeah. Alvarado came in, and he came in for Godoy, and it's like, oh, okay. Where's Vasquez? And it just seemed to me, watching on my couch, they were content with the point, and the point was we got to play defense to get the point. And that's why you bring in Alvarado in. They didn't feel comfortable doing it the other way. It's like, okay, we can win the ball, we can go forward, and let's bring Vasquez in to do that. I think that's kind of what the thinking behind the decision is. But you could tell us a little bit more, Tony. What do you think?
I mean, the way that Vasquez plays, he plays too flashy for the style. And I think that just kind of comes down to the style and the aesthetics of the Right to Dream way of playing and who Mikey needs in certain positions. Not saying that Emma Boateng would be above Vasquez and just the time that he would go ahead and utilize him instead of Vasquez. But if you go back, what's exciting about Vasquez? When he's the Mexican killer for a reason. Anytime you play against Mexican team in League Cup, he turns up and you're about to head in there. So I think, it's a interesting thing too, where if you go back to Tyler Heaps's press conference, when he mentions like, we want our players playing at the highest level, not at the highest level, just within the club. They mean highest level as in somewhere else. And so if that stepping stone for some of these players is Liga MX to go into something bigger, San Diego FC is going to be content with that. And I think that's a reality that also needs to set in a little bit more, where you're going to have your favorite players, but they're not going to be here for that long. David Vasquez needs to go ahead and just enjoy the time that he has here, because that seems like there's a lot of interest from around. But then you're talking about Soma. Why didn't he play? Well, you just don't have anyone else. There's no depth after Soma, so I guess you have to save him, right? Like if there's nobody that's stepping into that role that's ready to go, and if there is, then show me. There's no transfers coming in. Even if you bring in a left winger, that's not going to help necessarily across the board anywhere else in the midfield. But you need to have the depth, and I really don't think this team right now has the depth to compete in the upcoming 2 tournaments. And the fact that they're dropping this one, are they just punting MLS to go all in Leagues Cup? Maybe. I guess you saw that you could compete with the best of the best in Mexico in CONCACAF, so you should be able to compete against the lesser teams. I don't. It's it's an interesting place to be.
Yeah, I blame Monaco. Those boys took a trip to Monaco. I don't know what happened, and
I saw
the
those
same
pictures.
since. No, it seemed like a great trip, but man, it just, yeah, they. I'm glad they're keeping, due to the situation that they got to keep Vasquez on, and I think that's a good thing, because you kind of need if something happens to Pirani, you kind of need someone there to play behind whoever comes in for that role. So I'm happy for the kid if he is going to go to Liga MX. It makes sense because he does play so well against those teams. But they really do need some midfield help here. Like they need bodies for that midfield just in case anything happens. We saw what happened yesterday. You had Godoy out there. He's pretty slow. And then Yepe, it's not his year. It's not his year this year. He'll regain that strength and get up to speed, but it's not there. And Balakari just played his standard Balakari game. He can pass, but he can't shoot. So you kind of need someone else to take over the shooting for him. So you've got a pretty mixed up midfield, and hopefully Pirani can stabilize it a little bit, and Vasquez can kind of give you a changeup, here and there. But I thought it could have been yesterday, and it turned out to be Alvarado's turn to play in the midfield.
I just wanted to point out something interesting that I noticed right now. When the San Diego FC Chrome and Azul are playing really well, sometimes we forget about Honors Dreyer because we're like, oh, he's playing so well. But when they're not, it seems like we also forget about Honors Dreyer and just kind of overlook that. And he's the MVP of the team, but he's also the only all-star on this team. Like there's no spark, and I think that's the big issue. Just anything offensive wise, it seems like he's lost his smile. Did him cutting his hair kind of like Sanson just kind of take those powers away? Like what happened? Like it's something that I think people aren't as critical as, because they just say, oh well, it's because he needs help on the other side. We've mentioned it too, but there needs to be some accountability. If Invarson is not doing so well, because he's a 9, people are going to go after him.
It's good that you mentioned Dreyer, Tony, because there was a point in that game, I think it might have been in the first half, that he got the ball and there was like open space in front of him, but he was at elevation. He was like, I'm not making that run. I'm not going to make that run right now in elevation. Maybe that was just it. Maybe it was just coming off a long break. I'm not 100% going 100 just yet, and just saving his powers for Saturday. But we don't talk enough about Dreyer. He can make things happen. He's there. He can play the right wing pretty well, but you can't give him the ball. There's no one giving him the ball either. That's also
Thank
the problem.
you. Dreyer is a good player, but he's not Messi. Okay? Like, he is a good player, but right now San Diego FC is incredibly easy to defend. You rotate your defense over to Dreyer. You bracket 2 guys on Dreyer. You keep your eye on Ingvartsen. There's no threat from anywhere else on the field. There's no threat from anywhere else in the field. That's why when Bombino's not in there, they're basically a neutered pup, because Bombino, you need his speed. You need his transitional plays up the left side to create numbers advantages and to create quick changes. Otherwise, Dreyer is just always inside a bracket. There were times in the second half he gets the ball and there's 3 guys around him. Like, what are you expecting him to do? And because he's got all the weight of the world on his shoulders, he dribbles around, trying to find a shooting lane, tries to find a shoot. It's like, no, there's no chance for you, dude. Like, just give it up, And honestly, look, Valakari gets a better touch on it. Maybe it's 1-0. Maybe things change it. But SDFC in no way deserved to win that game. They did not. So it's on to FC Dallas at home. And unlike Colorado Rapids, FC Dallas has Peter Musa on 13 goals, has Logan Farrington on 6 goals. They've got a couple of 9s that can get up there and finish when the opportunity presents itself. And I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. The crowd has a chance to lift the sails of San Diego FC and give you a better version of what they do. But if they roll out the same lineup and the same game plan, we're going to see the same game. We're going to see the defense give up the ball. We're going to see Dallas get multiple opportunities. I think they've got better strikers that have a better chance to finish. And we're going to see a sputtering attack in the final third because there's just nobody to create. I need SDFC to turn it up 3 notches to get a result against Dallas going into Leagues Cup and to offer a measure of resuscitation to this 2026 season. Because right now, this team came out second half DOA, just dead on arrival. They put up another yucky loss where they didn't deserve to win, and then they blow the point at the end. And if they go out and get defeated at home by Dallas, it's really kind of a writing on the wall situation, because at least those of us close enough to it, we understand Leagues Cup is going to deplete the depth. It's going to make the games coming out of Leagues Cup even tougher for San Diego FC to be able to compete at a high level. And then they're playing teams like LAFC and going up to Portland, and it's it's not easy. It was never going to be easy in the second half. That's why we knew in our preseason show that they needed to rack up points in the first half. And then they went on a franchise losing streak in the first half. I need a lot more from Azul and Chrome on Saturday night.
And I think the good thing is they're playing a completely different team than Colorado. FC Dallas just likes to hunker down and counter, and I think that's what we'll see on Saturday. And yeah, Peter Musa he was the man of the match the last time we saw Dallas, and scored a hat trick and helped this team come from behind and get a point at home. And I think that's going to be he's the difference maker. World Cup caliber player, and that's going to be what we need on our side is Dreyer, and hopefully some other players kind of like perform up to that level. It's about time we see it. But other than that, like it's just funny how similar in stats these teams are, like scoring wise. They score FC Dallas has 31 goals, San Diego has 30. I think it's 28 against or 26 against, and FC Dallas has 24. Very similar. It's just two different styles, and we'll see which one prevails on Saturday. And man, you kind of hope that the home crowd can get behind this team early on. You really want to. The biggest thing for San Diego is starting off with the goal, get ahead. All those things can attribute like a good feeling that, hey, this could be a win if we can just get up 2-0 against this team, maybe 3-0, maybe 4-0 against this one, because they actually came back from behind from 3. So but yeah, you got to score early and often against FC Dallas. And guess what, they dropped some points last night against Timbers. It was Portland. They were playing against Portland. Musa actually got the team ahead in the 88th minute. Mora on the other side for Timbers got them the equalizer late in stoppage time. So they're coming home from a heartbreaker themselves. So yeah, it should be a good game, but you got to play at a very high level against FC Dallas.
Yeah, and that's where I'll kind of rain on the parade, if there is any silver lining. This is the team that received you after you really essentially started your losing streak back at the beginning of the season emotionally, right? Not even just you tie 3-3, but that was the first time where you're like, okay, that was weird. Didn't we just celebrate a couple days ago that we beat Toluca 10 men? All right.
That's
Mano
when the hangover
Dua's
started.
down. Okay. And then you kind of, after that, to completely get destroyed by Toluca, which is what we've heard now is the seminal moment in this season for San Diego FC is, yeah, they got the light speed out of them by Toluca, and they wore it, and they're apparently still wearing it. And if it's like a boxer, right? At the beginning of this fight, in the beginning stage of the round, you won those rounds. You're feeling good against Montreal. You have those results. Great. You beat Toluca. All right, awesome. Then you go and you face Dallas. You're like, all right, that was weird. Then you get knocked down by Toluca. You're kind of wobbly. Since then, everybody's just piecing you up. You haven't really recovered. You had one kind of good punch against Austin, who showed their hand early and said, we're going to rest everybody. We're going to throw our kids out there. That was them showing off their B team, saying, okay, you're going to beat us anyway with our B team. Where's your B team? Well, all right, whatever. Here's your 3 points. Since then, so yeah, tie against Cincinnati. The last seconds again in that match at Snapdragon.
Brutal match.
4-2 Vancouver. Break. All right, we're good. Colorado again. FC Dallas is in 5th place right now. You couldn't beat a Colorado team in your similar bracket, essentially. It's going to be a tough game. I don't see San Diego winning. And I think this might be the first time FC Dallas beats you. They've never beat in the history San Diego. So this might be it. Unless again, prove another. Like, where is it coming from? Is Gabi really going to be that good? Okay. I'm ready for that. I am ready to see a Gabi-led midfield or influence midfield at some point, 60th minute, and then have my opinion changed. And then have you come back and have a 2-2 game at home because you scored a last-minute tie equalizer. Okay.
Yeah. And Tony just mentioned, the San Diego FC brought out the B team for FC Dallas last time. Cisniega was at goal. Bombino was at right back. Pelcher started at left back. Dua and Sue were at center back. Soma at center defensive mid. Godoy and Valakari, but then you had Maiton on the left wing, and Vasquez started.
And Godoy played because he had a red, and so he was going to
play. Yeah,
he wasn't going to play Toluca, so he was the veteran they played.
Yeah. So I mean, you did pretty well up to that point until it all fell apart at the very end. But that was the B team. Can they have a chance with the A team? And just go all out on FC Dallas.
And the A team has become a lot of the B team due to attrition over the course of the season. I'm telling you, they miss Pellegrino. That guy offered speed and finishing and veteran savvy, and he's out. And Morgan is just a wind-up toy. I'm sorry, I haven't seen one damn thing from David Morgan this year that made me think like, oh yeah, no, hang on, plug him in deeper. We're going to start to get goals and assists. I don't see it at all. So it'll be really interesting.
Yeah. The only thing I saw from Lewis Morgan is he looked fit. He looked better than he did before the break.
I agree. The uniform fits him better. You're right.
Yeah. That's about it. But can he play? I haven't seen him score or haven't seen him. I honestly thought Morgan was going to score before Tatis got a homer, and now Tatis is hitting homers almost every night. So
yeah. So you lost that one, but that's okay.
Yeah, I lost that one. Yeah.
Well, all three of us will be at Snapdragon Stadium one way or another on Saturday evening. I'll be breaking out the Chromaniac Summer Fit.
Okay,
for
good.
The first time
good.
this
good.
Yeah, we cannot go fully suited. Yeah, no chance. But we'll be out there, and then I will be back on YouTube live with a Chromaniacs post-match show Saturday night, win, lose, or draw against FC Dallas. It certainly wasn't the most fun edition of the Chromaniacs. We much prefer to talk about happy goals and assists and good play and wins and a franchise moving in the right direction. But right now, we've got what we've got. We've got a team that seems like they're dead in the water, and I'm really hoping to see some signs that it's not bad going into the rest of the summer. Otherwise, Wave, you're going to get a lot of attention down the stretch. And, that's good. Almost to the Wave as well. But as we wave goodbye on this episode of the Chromaniacs, Tony, tell everybody what they should be following and paying attention to.
Well, the name of the game is still SanDiego.Futbol. SanDiego.Futbol is where you can still find all these post-match meet availabilities midweek. Literally the place where you can find all your information for San Diego FC. SanDiego.Futbol, San Diego Wave as well. Everything soccer in San Diego is still happening here. I fixed it. It's Tony Sanchez. I don't even know my own Instagram. Tony Sanchez. A kid at work made fun of me. He's like, "Whoa, your email doesn't have any numbers. And that actually took me back. That's how old I am. Like, I have prime real estate on some emails.
Yes, sir. That's amazing. Alex?
Hey, just chromaticfc.com. You can subscribe and get a newsletter when these episodes come out. So and anything I write. So yeah, go subscribe or follow me on chromaticfc SD on Instagram. What about you, Craig?
Well, sometimes we take down the San Diego FC backdrop and we put up a Padres Hot Tub backdrop, and that's when we talk Padres baseball. Patrons to Padres Hot Tub had a live show earlier this evening that we call Group Therapy, where we get a couple of the hosts together and chat through whatever's going on. That's what we did tonight, talking about the possibility of rising from the ashes and the possibility of making smart sales and where those could take place going to the deadline. All of that available to our patrons at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. If you're more interested in just hearing the general show, you can find that here on YouTube or anywhere you get this podcast. You can find that podcast as well. Just search for Padres Hot Tub or go to padreshottub.com. Meanwhile, look at that. 1 follower from 900 on Instagram at the Chromaniacs. Let's hope some Saturday content and some clips from this show will take us over the edge. If you have not subscribed to us and you have an Instagram, or not followed us, and you have an Instagram account, please follow us at the Chromaniacs. Until we meet again Saturday night, for Tony Sanchez, Alex Pena, I'm Craig Elston. Thank you so much for being here. Hit that thumbs up on YouTube if you haven't on the way out, or a 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice. And until then, vamos, SDFC.